Hello everyone, this is your loving host Dr. Afshan Hashmi, live from her studio in Rockville, Maryland. And friends, before I start today's program, it is about Hajj, which is going to be in few weeks in Saudi Arabia, the sacred pilgrimage of Muslims annually. And before I start talking about it, I want to remind you that these are my two books. First one is the modern Mughal mentality, new strategies to succeed in India and the global marketplace. And the second one is the outbreak of a monstrous infection. And friends, today I just wanted to let you know that my two books, I want a documentary to be made of this one, and for this one I want a movie to be made. So all those Hollywood, Bollywood producers and listening and whoever makes documentaries and movies, please contact me at Afshan at drafshanhashmi.com. And these two books were Amazon bestsellers. So, and these two books, as well as sponsorships for these programs, bring food to the table. And this program will be syndicated worldwide to 300 million listeners. Having said that, friends, now let's start today's program. And let me talk about little bit about Hajj. And this I got from Hajj from the embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I got this information, and it says, "Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik, la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak." Here I am at your service, O Lord. Here I am, here I am. No partner do you have, here I am. Truly the praise and the favor are yours, and the dominion no partner do you have? These are the words chanted by some 2 million people from across Saudi Arabia and throughout the world, heading as if pulled by a magnet to one single spot on earth. As happened every year for 14 centuries, Muslim pilgrims gather in Mecca to perform rituals based on those conducted by the Prophet Muhammad during his last visit to the city. Performing these rituals, known as Hajj, is the fifth pillar of Islam and the most significant manifestation of Islamic faith and unity. Undertaking the Hajj at least once is a duty for Muslims who are physically and financially able to make the journey to Mecca. The emphasis on financial ability is meant to ensure that a Muslim takes care of his family first. The requirement that a Muslim be healthy and physically capable of undertaking the pilgrimage is intended to exempt those who cannot endure the rigors of extended travel. The pilgrimage is the religious high point of a Muslim's life and an event that every Muslim dreams of undertaking. Umrah, the lesser pilgrimage, can be undertaken at any time of the year. Hajj, however, is performed during a 5 day period from the 9th through the 13th of Dhuhal Hijjah, the 12th month of the Muslim lunar calendar. In the past and as late as the early decades of last century, few people were able to make their way to Mecca for the pilgrimage. This was because of the hardships encountered, the length of time the journey took, and the expense associated with it. Pilgrims coming from the far corners of the Islamic world sometimes dedicated a year or more to the journey, and many perished during it due in part to the lack of facilities on the routes to Mecca and also in the city itself. The circumstances of the Hajj began to improve during the time of King Abdul Aziz bin Abdul Rahman Al Saud, the founder of the modern Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Major programs were introduced to ensure the security and safety of the pilgrims as well as their well being and comfort. Steps were also taken to establish facilities and services aimed at improving housing, healthcare, sanitation, and transportation. Today, though the rituals at the holy sites in and near Mecca have remained unchanged from the time of the Prophet, the setting for the pilgrimage and the facilities available to the pilgrims are a far cry from those that existed at any time in history. Hardship was once expected and endured as part of the pilgrimage, and Muslims who embarked on this undertaking traditionally assigned a relative or trusted member of the community as the executor of their wills in case they did not return from the journey. Muslims today undertake the pilgrimage in ease, receive a warm welcome on their arrival in Saudi Arabia, and are provided with the most modern facilities and efficient services possible, without the distractions that their forebears had to contend with. Today's pilgrims are free to focus solely on the spiritual aspect of the Hajj, preparing to welcome the guests of God. It is truly amazing, said Rajiv Razul, a journalist from the Philippines, as he stood on the roof of the Ministry of Information building near the Nimera Mosque in Arafat, watching a column of pilgrims that stretched to Mina, almost 8 miles in the distance, make their way past the mosque towards the Mount of Mercy. To organize a gathering of humans this large, for housing them, for feeding them, and for meeting their every need year after year must be a monumental task, he observed. Saudi Arabia considered serving the guest of God an honor and dedicates vast manpower and financial resources to the proper conduct of the pilgrimage. Over the past 4 decades, it has spent billions of dollars to expand the Holy Mosque in Mecca and the Prophet's Mosque in Medina, as well as establishing modern airports, seaports, roads, lodging, and other amenities. The establishment of these facilities by itself does not ensure a successful Hajj. To do so, the kingdom has put into place a vast organization supervised by the Supreme Hajj Committee, which reports to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Fahd bin Abdul Aziz, who traditionally is in Mecca during the pilgrimage. The committee seeks to coordinate the activities of various government ministries and agencies and prevent redundancy. Each of these organizations assumes responsibility for projects in its sphere of expertise. For example, the Ministry of Islamic Affairs Endowments Call and Guidance issues special booklets on the rights of the Hajj in many languages for distribution among the pilgrims. The Ministry of Health oversees medical services, while the Ministry of Information hosts journalists and members of the media from other countries to cover the pilgrimage, while at the same time arranging for live transmissions of the rituals by satellite throughout the world. Planning for each year's pilgrimage generally starts at the conclusion of the previous one and involves evaluating various programs and, if necessary, introducing steps to improve any service that is deemed below power. Once plans for the next Hajj are approved, they are sent to the appropriate government agency, which immediately sets out to implement them. The progress of these plans is reviewed by the committee throughout the year, and once in place, the project is inspected several weeks before the pilgrimage starts. A vast brotherhood. Performing the Hajj is the spiritual apex of a Muslim's life, one that provides a clear understanding of his relationship with God and his place on earth. It imparts in a Muslim not only the assurance that he has performed the fifth pillar of Islam by following in the footsteps of the Prophet, but also the realization that he is part of an Ummah nation that is more than 1 billion strong and spreads across the globe. This feeling is brought home upon the pilgrim's arrival in the kingdom. Most pilgrims arrive by air, and as their planes taxi towards the impressive Hajj terminal in Jeddah, they pass jetliners with familiar names, but also ones that bear exotic markings such as Southern China Airlines and Dagestan Airlines and others from every part of the world. While waiting to be processed through the arrival hall, the pilgrim begins to shed his identity as he stands amid sea of people in ihram, the two seamless pieces of white cotton that men wear and the simple, generally white attire that women wear. Here, no one can tell a person's social or economic status or his national origin based on the clothes he wears. Suddenly, the pilgrim is simply and above all else a Muslim, and the realization slowly sets in that he is now focusing more than ever on other people's faces rather than their clothes. These faces represent almost every race or nationality on earth. As energetic young Saudis move the pilgrims rapidly through customs, he notices Arabs, Indian, Bosnians, Chinese, Spaniards, Africans, Leontinans, French, Americans, and many others. Contact with people from such diverse races and nationalities over the days and weeks spent in the kingdom engenders in the pilgrims a sense of understanding of and trust in total strangers simply because they are performing the Hajj together. Arriving in Mecca. Before heading towards Mecca, the pilgrims are already dressed in ihram or may change a miqat where special facilities are set up for this purpose. By donning the ihram, the pilgrim enters a state of spirituality and purity. On the way from Jeddah to Mecca along the modern superhighway, pilgrims board one of the fleet of 15,000 buses assigned to the Hajj. This vast concourse of vehicles approaches Mina some 4 miles to the northwest of Mecca, where most of the pilgrims are housed in the thousands of air conditioned tents that stretch to the limits of Mina Valley. Walking through this vast city that has been established for use for only a few days a year, the pilgrim is struck by the ordinance of the place. Food is prepared in hundreds of kitchens spread throughout Mina and distributed among the tents. Thousands of drinking fountains and wash areas are located throughout the tent city. There are hundreds of medical clinics that supplement the hospitals in Mecca and Arafat. Security personnel and traffic police guide and help pilgrims. Despite the clear signs and numbered rows, some pilgrims, particularly the elderly, tend to get lost and need assistance finding their tents or groups. Banks of telephones are located in all the pilgrimage sites, allowing pilgrims to make direct international calls. The rites of pilgrimage. After sunrise on the 9th of the Islamic month of Dua al Hajj, this vast crowd of nearly 2 million begins to walk some 8 miles to the plain of Arafat, passing Muzdalifah on the way. Many perform the noon and afternoon prayers at the Nimra Mosque, a tradition set by the Prophet. Approaching Arafat by mid morning, the pilgrim is amazed to find the vast plain covered by what appears to be a thick fog, even though the temperature hovers around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. This optical illusion is created by thousands of sprinklers placed atop 30-foot poles and spaced some 50 feet apart, which spread a fine mist of water to provide coolness. Millions of containers of chilled water are distributed from refrigerated trucks located along the pilgrim route. Despite these precautions, the wail of sirens is ever present as hundreds of ambulances pick up pilgrims suffering from heat exhaustion and transport them to special clinics for treatment. The more serious cases are evacuated by helicopter to hospitals. Pilgrims are required to spend the day in the plain performing what is called the standing at Arafat. Here they also visit the Mount of Mercy and ask for God's forgiveness for any sins committed and for blessing. Facilities have also been set up here to feed the pilgrims and meet any requirement they may have. After the sun has set, this river of humanity retraces its steps back towards Mecca but stops at Muzdalifah until the brightness of the day appears on the eastern horizon. Here the pilgrims collect 7 pebbles and carry them to Mina. As they arrive in the valley, they trek along a two-level pedestrian walkway some 100 yards wide towards the three stone pillars called the Jamarat, which are meant to represent Satan. The pilgrims are required to cast the pebbles they have collected at the stone pillar of Kaaba while praising God in a symbolic rejection of Satan. As the pilgrims approach along the walkway, they join those already at the pillar and, after hurling their pebbles, circle towards the exit ramp in the direction of Makkah. Signs in various major languages direct the crowds along the route. The pilgrims then walk some 4 miles along pedestrian walkways to reach Mecca, where they perform the tawaf, circling the Kaaba in the holy mosque 7 times counterclockwise. They then perform Sa'i, the running between Safa and Marwa in an enclosed air-conditioned structure. Male pilgrims are then required to shave their heads, although cutting a lock of hair is acceptable for both men and women. At this point, the pilgrims sacrifice an animal, donating its meat to the needy. Each year, over 600,000 animals are sacrificed in modern abattoirs that complete the processing of the meat over the 3 days of the Eid. Distribution of this sacrificial meat goes to those in need in some 30 countries. The rites of the pilgrimage are now completed. Pilgrims come out of Ihram and wear their normal clothes but remain at Mina for the Eid al-Adha, the festival that signals the culmination of the Hajj. Over the next 2 days, they stone the three pillars in the Jamarat before performing the Tawaf al-Wida, the farewell circumambulation of the Kaaba before their departure from the city. While not required as part of the Hajj, most pilgrims visit the Prophet's mosque in Medina during their visit to the kingdom. A spiritual journey. Throughout the Hajj, the largest annual gathering of people on earth, the pilgrimage is marked by a total absence of any disagreements or altercations among the pilgrims. Courtesy and helping others are the norm. Peace, serenity, and piety pervade the entire pilgrimage and the pilgrims. At the conclusion of the Hajj, the pilgrim has a profound feeling of having gone through a lifetime performing a spiritual experience. He comes away with pride in having successfully performed a ritual dedicated to God and in belonging to a huge family of people that shares the same religious beliefs, and he has acquired a sense of humility, inner calm, brotherhood, and strength that lasts a lifetime. And this is from the Embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Washington, D.C. And I got this printed from their website. And it says the Embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, 601 New Hampshire Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C. 20037. So, this is the address of the embassy. Having said that, friends, I just printed this. This is not sponsored by embassy or anything or by Saudi Arabia, but I would love to have a sponsorship for my this show and my two other shows on W4WN and Talk 4 TV and K4HD Radio and Talk 4 TV, as well this my doco series, and all these shows get to 300 million listeners. So just imagine, if you give me sponsorship in a very reasonable manner, I will talk about your products in a very very reasonable way. Having said that, friends, now I will take a break and will be back soon. So, friends, I am back now, and let's talk about some news which I got from Arab News. And here it is. No permit, no Hajj pilgrimage. Saudi authorities warn. Riyadh people attempting to perform the Hajj pilgrimage without a permit face a $2,066 $666 fine, Saudi Arabia's General Security said in a statement on Wednesday. The authority's official spokesperson said pilgrims must obtain a Hajj permit from the relevant entities before attempting to perform the Muslim rituals. In the statement posted on Twitter, Brigadier Sami bin Muhammad al Shuwariq urged pilgrims to strictly follow Hajj restrictions while stressing that security forces would fulfill their duties in securing routes heading to the Grand Mosque in Mecca and the rest of the holy premises to prevent any violations. Saudi Arabia earlier said it permitted over 1 million pilgrims overseas to perform Hajj this year for the first time in 2 years of COVID-19 restrictions, which limited the pilgrimage to residents of the kingdom. So now there is a news here from Al Jazeera, and it says Hajj booking system changes leave many Muslims disappointed. Many Muslims from Western countries miss out as Saudi Arabia's Hajj authorities move pilgrimage bookings online. And this is the news I will read now. Bags packed with newly brought loose fitting abaya robes, comfortable shoes, and non fragrance toiletries, Sajida Anwar was ready to perform Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, the fifth pillar of Islam and a religious requirement for all Muslims who can afford to make the journey. The other pillars include belief in God, Allah, and Muhammad as a prophet, five daily prayers, fasting, and charity. I was prepared spiritually and mentally to complete the fifth and final requirement, Anwar told Al Jazeera. She had upped her physical training to make sure she was fit enough to make the arduous journey, attended Hajj courses, and brought everything she needed for the trip. The accomplished project director for a property and investment company in the British capital, London, has traveled the world. Most recently, she has spent time in Australia's Blue Mountains and traveled across Tasmania, but the one place she has most wanted to visit has always been just out of reach. So, this is the beautiful picture of Kaaba. I have been saving for this trip for years, but had been waiting for a Mehram male relative to be able to accompany me, as that's the traditional requirement of performing Hajj or Umrah, the 48-year-old said. It was 2020 when Mamu, her maternal uncle, said he was ready to join her along with his wife to perform Hajj. Their kids were older and they felt it was the right time for the couple to perform the pilgrimage, Anwar said. Coronavirus pandemic. Pandemic led travel curbs meant Saudi Arabia was only allowing Muslims already inside the country to make the pilgrimage. Anwar and her family had to wait to travel to Mecca like millions of Muslims worldwide and prepared to do so once restrictions were lifted. That year, the income from both Hajj and Umrah, shorter version of Hajj that can be completed at any time of a year and is not compulsory, brought in about 12 billion to Saudi Arabia's economy, $12 billion. So this was little bit report from Al Jazeera, and now friends, I will go on a break and will be back soon. Now, friends, I am back, and let's talk about some news I saw in Gulf newspaper. And here it is. Hajj 2022 to begin on July 7 after crescent moon sighted in Saudi Arabia. The Dual Hijjah crescent moon has been sighted on Wednesday evening in Saudi Arabia's Tumair Observatory, according to the kingdom's Supreme Court. The sighting of the moon marks the beginning of Dhul al Hijjah Islamic month Haji in which the Hajj pilgrim is performed, followed by Eid ul Adha. As the moon was sighted on Wednesday evening, Hajj will begin on July 7th with Arafat Day on July 8th. Eid al Adha, also known as the Festival of the Sacrifice, will begin on Saturday, July 9th. Saudi Arabia's Supreme Court had called on people living in the kingdom to sight the crescent moon on the month of Dhul Hijjah on Wednesday evening. Those who spot the moon with their naked eye or using binoculars are urged to report to the nearest court and register their testimony. The entire month of Duhal Hijjah is holy with a series of days important to the Muslim faith. Duhal Hijjah is the 12th and the final month of the Islamic calendar and is considered one of the four sacred months for Muslims called Al Ashur Al Huram. And now, friends, I will go on a break and will be back soon. And now, friends, I am back here. And let's say what are the responsibilities of the Ministry of Hajj. So here it is. And I want to make sure that this show is not sponsored by them but is sponsored by my company, Dr. Rafshan Hashmi Consulting Group. But I would love to have sponsorship from the Sovereign Fund of Saudi Arabia. And if my friends in Saudi Arabia are listening, I would love to have a sponsorship from the Sovereign Fund. And I would like to say Assalamu alaikum and Ahlan wa sahlan marhaba and happy Hajj to all my friends here, all to all Muslims around the world. Having said that, friends, now let's look at the responsibilities of the Ministry of Hajj. And here it is. The Holy Country has had the privilege and honor of shouldering the responsibility of providing integrated services to the pilgrims of Allah's inviolable house, to those performing the small Hajj Umrah, and to the visitors of the Mosque of the Noble Prophet, peace be upon him. Such services begin with the moment they set foot in the territory of the kingdom till their return to their respective countries. Caring for the needs of pilgrims occupy first priority among the state concerns. Article 24 of Part 5 pertaining to the rights and duties appearing in the kingdom's governor statutes, which was raised in 1414 provides that the state shall assume the responsibility of serving the two holy mosques, shall take full care of pilgrims, and shall reconstruct the two holy mosques and provide services there too. It shall provide security and care for the visitors thereof to enable them to perform Hajj Umrah and visit the Prophet's mosque in peace and tranquility. So, if you want to read, this is from news from the uh, responsibilities of the ministries of Hajj and from the Hajj ministry. This I got this from. Okay, so now let me talk little bit. Let me go on a break first, and I will be back. So now I am back, and let's talk about the pilgrimage al Hajj, and it is from the study Quran, a new translation and commentary. And here it is. There is no journal agreement as to when Al-Hajj was revealed. Some say it is Medinan except for verse 52 to 55, which are Makkan, while others say it is Makkan except for 19 to 22, which are from the Medinan period. Most say it is a mix of Makkan and Medinan verses. Most say it is a mix of Makkan and Medinan verses. According to one tradition, it was called one of the most remarkable of surahs for several reasons. It was revealed both at night and during the day, while on journey and while at home, and during war and during peace. It contains both abrogating and abrogated verses, and it has been both muhkam and mutashabi, symbolic or allegorical verses. It takes its name from the mention of the Hajj pilgrimage in and also the broader discussion of it throughout. Al-Hajj opens with a warning of the terrors of the destruction of the world and the resurrection, which are compared to the individual's life cycle of human beings. The traits of the misguided are described and compared with those of the righteous through the parable of a garden, and by describing their reward or punishment in the hereafter. The significance of the Hajj is addressed in a passage that begins with a reminder that the rituals of the Hajj were begun by Ibrahim, and goes on to note that the true meaning of the rites of pilgrimage lies in the inner state of reverence taqwa that reaches God, not sacrificial meat or other physical aspects of the Hajj. The resistance to and the rejection of other prophets by their peoples is mentioned in a passage that some commentators have explained in terms of the story of the cranes, most popularly known in the West as the Satanic verses, which are connected to various passages of the Quran but are often discussed in connection with verse 52 of this surah. This surah contains an important passage thought by many scholars to be the first verses revealed, giving the Muslim community permission to resort to the use of force to defend itself against per- persecution. It also contains significant verses dealing with the relationship of Islam to other religions and the place of the Muslim community in history. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, O mankind, reverence your Lord. Truly, the quaking of the hour is a tremendous thing. So, having said that, friends, I will continue this Surah Hajj in other broadcasts, in forthcoming Hajj broadcast. And friends, now I want to remind you that these are my two books. The first one is The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. And when this book came, in like in uh, 2015, there was a lot of research going on Jugaad, the Hindi buzzword. And here I have conceptualized Jugaad as thinking outside the box. And I want to tell my Saudi friends, King Abdullah and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, that I have given this book in Saudi Arabian embassy, and I don't know whether they have given you this book yet or not. And I would, because these two books bring food to the table, so I would request you to please buy these books, and give me that sponsorship or buy these books, so that I can bring food to the table, and I can feed, from this book, the sale of this book. I also give a part to the charity of underprivileged. So please, from these two books sale also I give underprivileged people. So please, King Abdullah, I want a sponsorship from the sovereign fund. And the second book, The Outbreak, and yes, I want a documentary to be made out of this book. So all those companies who are listed here, and anyone who's interested in making a documentary, please contact me at afshan@drafshanhashmi.com. And this book, The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection, I want a movie to be made, and the screenplay is ready. And all those Hollywood, Bollywood producers, please contact me at afshan@drafshanhashmi.com. And Tailflix Company did an evaluation of this, and it has come up that this book is like Contagion and Crazy Rich Asians, which were both Hollywood blockbusters. So I would love to hear from some people, and if Saudi Arabia is interested in making a movie, I would give them the first preference. And I hope Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince, is listening, and also King Abdullah. Having said that, friends, now let me tell you that this program will be syndicated worldwide to 300 million listeners. So friends, if you give me sponsorship, your product will be promoted in a very, very grand way. Having said that, friends, let me read little bit from the book so that people have an idea what this book is all about. About the book, and I'm reading from this one. A monstrous infection is spreading worldwide. Is this a simple infection or a deliberate attempt to ruin the human population or bioterrorism? What is this global infection and who is spreading this? To know that, read this suspense filled book by an Amazon best selling and hot number one new release author of a previous book called The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. In the author's second book, a sizzling science fiction story, a crime is investigated by the FBI in collaboration with the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) of India. And I will read little bit from chapter 1, and it says 1964 to 2018. In a sprawling bungalow in Potomac, Maryland, USA, lived Dr. Honey Singh, a board certified internal medicine and family practice physician, along with his beautiful wife, Baby Singh. Baby Singh was a fashionista and was funding women's causes through her Honey Babe Foundation. She had a ladies' book club by the name of Baby's Glam and Glitzy Club, which had many glam and glitzy ladies who were professionals living in Washington, D.C., Potomac, Maryland, Virginia, and even Beverly Hills, California, as well as elites from all of America meeting at her place on the last Wednesday of every month, discussing various aspects of charities they wanted her and Dr. Honey to fund. In this club, there was a wide spectrum of career women. There were doctors, lawyers, actresses, business owners, and models, to name a few. In these book club meetings, members would come prepared after reading a book of a famous woman author, and that author was even invited from any part of the world to give her presentation, followed by a Q&A in this prestigious and elite gathering. The book club was followed by a sumptuous meal which was especially prepared by a celebrity chef with his or her specialty cuisine. Each month, a different cuisine was tried by voting at the beginning of the year. This ladies' club operated from March till November every year, and authors around the world wanted to come and present their book in this club. So, this is the book, and this is the back of the book. Having said that, friends, now I will be reading from this my first book, The Modern Mughal Mentality: New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. And this is the book, and this is the book. So I'm reading: the success of McDonald's in India can be attributed to its adaptation of the Indian menu or globalization. India's main religion is Hinduism, and about 82% of the population is Hindu. Cows are considered holy by Hindus. For Hindus, cows represent fertility and nurturing. The Indian population is roughly 12% Muslim. Muslims have a taboo regarding pork and pig sting products and do not eat pork products. The majority of Indians are vegetarian. McDonald's has developed a menu especially for India with vegetarian selections to suit Indian taste and preferences. McDonald's does not offer any beef or pork items in India. The challenge was to change the form of the worldwide popular hamburger to make an entry into India. The population of a billion was undoubtedly a promising opportunity for McDonald's. Realizing that an alternative to beef and pork was necessary, McDonald's accepted the challenge and created the Mac Aloo Tikki burger, known as Mac Aloo Tikki, especially for the Indian vegetarian customers. Aloo Tikki is a potato patty with spices. McDonald's ensures that vegetarian products are 100% vegetarian. The company even developed vegan mayonnaise especially for Indian consumers, and their soft serve ice creams are 100% vegetarian. McDonald's makes great efforts to ensure that the vegetarian products are segregated from the non vegetarian products from the moment they are stored at the suppliers until they are served to the customers. Creating a popular vegetarian version of the famous hamburger was indeed a classic case of product adaptation used to gain a foothold in a new market. In addition to complying with dietary sensitivities of its target market, McDonald's also addressed the price sensitivity of the Indian consumer market with its value meal. In order to expand their product line, McDonald's made a chicken and fish option available for the non vegetarians. McDonald's understood India's cultural values and attitudes and embedded them into their business plans. Jugaad seems to be at its best when confronted with a problem that needs immediate, quick improvisation. The problems that the cow is considered holy by Hindus and that pork cannot be eaten by Muslims made two of McDonald's primary ingredients off limits, creating new culturally appealing alternatives and vegetarian items in India was a very good quick fix to the problem. This is a great example of Jugaad inspired localization where genius and innovative thinking fueled by religious sensitivities to Indian consumers led to a quick fix of the Indian menu and enabled McDonald's to attain their objective of being successful in India. So this was a case study, and there are many American companies, and companies around the world, in this book. So please go and buy these two books, and these two books were Amazon bestsellers. And give me an honest review, and you can contact me at afshan@drafshanhashmi.com, and my email is afshan@drafshanhashmi.com. Having said that, friends, now I will end this program and see you in another program of my doco series. And cheers and bye bye.